Good evening, everyone. I'm Nancy Beninati with the League of Women Voters, and I want to welcome you this evening to our forum regarding Measure UU. Before we start tonight's presentation, I want to just give you a little background about the League and tonight's event. So as many of you know, the League of Women Voters is a grassroots organization whose mission is to ensure that individuals play a critical role in advocacy concerning our democratic process. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the League of Women Voters. And as a league, we are encouraged to see for the first time ever that a woman of color has been included in a major party presidential ticket. The League does not support or oppose any candidate or political party, but we do take positions with regard to public policy and in the broad sense, support those candidates that embody key League positions. If you're interested in community service, membership information is available at lwvpiedmont.org. Tonight's forum focuses on Piedmont Measure UU. We will not be holding a forum on Measure TT, despite the fact that we invited both sides of that issue to participate in a forum. Per our rules, we cannot go forward with a forum unless both sides participate, and the opponents to TT declined our invitation. This evening, each side will have 2 minutes to give an opening statement, followed by a question and answer session with questions that have been submitted by members of the public over the last few days. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer those questions. And then each side will be permitted to present a 2-minute closing statement. Our timekeeper tonight is our wonderful president and leader, Laurel Plimier. There will be a timer on the screen that you'll see, and we ask that you both wrap up your statement as you see the timer wind down to 0. As I've mentioned, we have been collecting written questions from the audience and have selected some to present this evening. We have screened the questions that are fair and unbiased and will not ask questions that are not premised on facts or are accusatory or hostile. We have also grouped and summarized questions to avoid repetition. We are also taking questions this evening through the YouTube chat feature. And we hope that by the end of this program that you will have more information that will help inform your decisions when you cast your ballot this election. This evening, I'm really pleased to invite Betsy Anderson, who is a proponent of the measure, and Andy Wasserman, who is an opponent of the measure. Before we started this evening, I flipped a coin to see who would go first, and that honor is now bestowed upon Andy. So you have 2 minutes and to give your opening statement, so please proceed.
Thank you. That may be the first time coin toss I've ever won. First, thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum. Second, to introduce myself, my name is Andy Wasserman. I've lived in Piedmont for over 40 years, and in the past I have voted yes on every ballot measure to raise money for Piedmont except for one. But today I have even more reasons to vote against Measure UU than were in my written argument back in August. For a number of months, the City Council has known that Piedmont's essential services, that is the police and fire departments, had serious deficiencies. At the April 20th City Council meeting, the city administrator addressed the issue. The police chief confirmed that the facility did not comply with the Essential Services Act, and the fire chief stated that an earthquake could cause significant structural damage to the fire station. In July, the council received an estimate to build a combined essential services building that would cost between $33 and $51 million, and yet the city council has been silent on this issue. So today I'm asking, where are the council's priorities? At the same time, they have asked the city administrator to investigate the formation of a community facilities district to raise our property taxes by up to $51 million. Why did they put a $20 million recreational facility on the ballot? The reason is simple. If both items were on the ballot at the same time, essential services would win and the pool would lose. So the council put UU on the ballot by itself very quietly to get it passed, before they told us about all the money we would have to spend on essential services. People don't move to Piedmont because of a pool. They move here because of our schools and our police and fire departments. Let's show the city council how to properly prioritize spending by voting no on UU, so we'll have the money to vote yes on critically needed essential services upgrades that are right around the corner.
Nancy, you're on mute.
I shouldn't be on mute anymore.
Betsy, thank you. Thank you, Andy. Betsy, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to participate in the League of Women Voters Forum this evening. I want to acknowledge that we're living in challenging times, and I appreciate our local league for its efforts to educate its members and the public at large. As many of you know, I am a member of the Piedmont City Council, but I'm appearing tonight in my individual capacity as a volunteer to answer questions about local ballot measure UU to rebuild the Piedmont Pool. The Piedmont Pool opened in 1964 when girls were not allowed to swim on the high school swim team, and the Beatles had just made their American debut on the Ed Sullivan Show. Certainly a lot has changed in 56 years, and after getting the most possible use out of our one and only community pool, we now have a decision to make. The city has been preparing for this moment. In 2016, the City Council formed an aquatic steering committee and hired professional pool experts and LEED certified architects to work with city staff and over 100 community members to formulate a plan for a new pool facility to better meet residents' needs. The conceptual plan that arose from that public process is reflected in Measure UU. There are over 300 pages of review, study, and discussion, including a 2018 report on the pool's deteriorating condition, all of which is available to the public on the city's website. But let me cut to the chase. Outdoor concrete pools do not last forever, and the Piedmont Pool has reached the end of its viability. There are no more low-cost fixes or patches that can save the disintegrating decks, fix the massive leaks, or address the chronically failing mechanical equipment. At this point in time, all pool staff have been laid off or reassigned. I cannot speak for council, but if Measure UU fails, I do not expect the pool to reopen. The City Council unanimously put Measure UU on the ballot and loudly put it on the ballot this November because the 5 of us could not in good conscience vote to close the pool permanently without giving you, the voters, the chance to invest in Piedmont's future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move to our question and answer session. And just as a reminder, each side will have 1 minute to answer the same question. If Measure UU fails, what will happen to the current property, the school athletes that use the pool, older adults, and those with special needs who also use the pool, and any additional issues with regard to aquatic needs that have come with the city of Piedmont? Betsy, sorry.
Ready? Okay, thank you. If Measure UU gets voted down, the message voters are sending to the City Council, intentional or not, is that voters do not want to pay to rebuild the pool. As I said before, I predict the Piedmont Pool will then be closed permanently, and we cannot continue to sink large amounts of money into a crumbling and inadequate facility. The City Council does not have a plan B. I don't foresee the city spending funds to go through another pool planning process like we did in 2016, nor do I foresee the city putting a losing ballot measure back on in a year or two. So a no vote on UU means no pool for Piedmont. The city will have to figure out what to do with that space, whether we turn it into, actually for as many people listening, there'll be as many different ideas for what to do with that space. There'll be costs associated for the schools to have to rent space in other communities, in Oakland primarily, and Berkeley. And families who want to swim will have to join private clubs and travel out of town to use other communities' pools.
Thank you. Andy, you have 1 minute. Same question.
Thank you. I don't quarrel with some of Betsy's statements. No question, if there is no pool, then we can't have Piedmont Aquatics in Piedmont. However, we do not have to spend $20 million, up to $20 million plus interest, which is going to be significantly more, to completely tear down and rebuild the pool. If we want a temporary fix, which would be a fraction of what the interest on a $20 million bond issue would be, the Piedmont City Council has a proposal for a $1.6 million fix to the pool that could be done in 6 months. That would extend the life of the pool by 5 to 10 years. We have many houses in Piedmont that are older than 50 years. We fix them up and we redo them and we live in them.
Great, thank you. Our next question, I start with you, Andy. Measure UU proponents state that if passed, the bonds will be used to build a sustainable pool. Proponents base this claim on water savings and LEED certification of the pool building, but don't acknowledge a significant increase in greenhouse gas emissions that will come from the new facility. Will you support changes to the proposed design of the pools so that their greenhouse gas emissions don't exceed that of the existing pools? And if you oppose the pool, can you explain your position as to how the environmental impact factors into your decision?
Well, thank you. I clearly do oppose the pool. I am in favor of preserving the environment. I think we need to do everything that we can. I personally spent a lot of money to put solar on my roof and have an electric car. And I think that as a country, we're not doing enough. However, I'm not in a position to address the greenhouse gas issue on the pool, being an opponent of it. But I would say that if the plans that have been considered, as was in the question, say that we could have an increase in greenhouse gases, that's all the more reason to do a temporary fix on the pool for $1.6 million and let it go for 5 to 10 years while we figure out what our finances are like and to make sure that our essential services are properly funded.
Thank you. Betsy, you have 1 minute to respond.
Thank you. I have to respond to Mr. Wasserman's allegation that we have a bond or bid or something for 1.6 million to do a temporary fix of the pool. We do not. The facts you cite are from the 2018 report saying that to do a complete deck replacement would be $1 to $2 million, and that doesn't address the mechanical failures of the pool. We could spend 6 months and $2 million of taxpayers' dollars, which by the way, the city doesn't have, to end up with the same mechanical failures over and over again without any operating pool in town. So it's throwing good money after bad, which I don't want to do on behalf of Piedmont taxpayers. So the City Council has made a commitment to Piedmont's climate action plan. The good news is that pool technology has come a long way in 56 years. Like car engines, pool heaters are way more efficient than they were 5 decades ago. We also now have solar technology. So there are many smart people in Piedmont, and I'm confident we can collaborate with the LEED certified architects and engineer to figure out a facility that maximizes efficiency and minimizes consumption and doesn't leak 3,000 gallons a day.
Thank you. Our next question, Betsy, you're first. In its June 12, 2020 report, the Piedmont Budget Advisory Committee recommended that the council move quickly to plan for the city's most urgent facility needs, specifically the police and fire stations, to take advantage of the current low long-term interest rates. Why was it preferable to pivot and prioritize replacement of the pool over what the report described as critical elements of the city that require immediate attention? 1 minute, please.
Thank you. We have known about the inevitable demise of the pool for years and have planned accordingly, but city staff and council are just in the beginning stages of evaluating our public safety buildings. We don't know what the solution is at this point in time to addressing any deficiencies in police and fire. Moreover, while our evaluation takes place, police and fire can and will continue to operate. They're doing just fine out of their present facilities. Unlike the pool, the police and fire departments will not close. Our public safety employees will continue to provide top-notch service to our residents. The City Council has shown a steadfast commitment to public safety. The fire department has a brand new fire engine. We're in the midst of expanding our public safety program. Public safety is a priority and will continue to be a priority. I do not see Measure UU as a choice between funding public safety or funding a pool. I believe our community can and should thoughtfully do both.
Thank you. 1 minute, Andy.
Thank you. I would take issue with Ms. Anderson's comments, including the fact that the police station will continue to function, the fire station will continue to function. In the June 14th City Council meeting, the city administrator addressed deficiencies in essential services. The police chief said that we were not in compliance with the California Essential Services Act. And here's the big one. The fire chief said that the fire station was in significant risk of having significant damage in an earthquake. Now, I don't think that says that our essential services are in good shape. I think this is a question of priorities. The City Council has a quote of up to $51 million to build a new essential services building, and I don't know that we have money to spend $20 million on recreational services and then another $51 million in a year or two on essential services.
Thank you. The next question is for you first, Andy. The life expectancy of outdoor pools is 30 to 50 years. Piedmont's pool is now 56 years old. Given that the pool has already outlasted its expected lifespan and it will take 2 to 3 years to get a replacement built, why shouldn't Piedmont voters pass Measure UU now?
Thank
You
you.
have 1 minute.
The simple answer is because we can't have everything that we want. Plain and simple, we have limited resources. If we had unlimited resources, we could have a pool, we could rebuild the police station, the fire station, everything. I am not a pool expert in terms of life. If 50 years is the expected life and maybe with some patches it lasts a little bit longer, that would be fine. However, the main thing is we are a community of 10,000 people with limited resources. We already spent $56 million on the schools in 2006, $65 million on the schools in 2016. Measures G, H, and T, which add thousands of dollars to our property taxes every year. We do not have unlimited resources. This is a matter of priorities. I don't understand why the City Council does not prioritize essential services over a pool.
Thank you. Betsy, 1 minute, please. Same question.
Yeah, so the City Council does prioritize public safety, and in a massive earthquake, that having a brand new fire station is not going to increase the number of people on staff. So my advice to Piedmont residents is to make sure you're prepared for a massive earthquake or a wildfire, because our limited staff is not going to be able to come to everyone's rescue. And a new fire station will not change that fact. So the pool is literally crumbling, and frankly, it cannot wait any longer. It's increasingly costly to operate. In addition to leaking 3,000 gallons a day, the city loses net $1,000 a day due to age-related maintenance issues. The pool mechanics are so old that the city has to bid on eBay and fly in replacement parts from around the country because they don't make them anymore. Last year, part of the pool deck fell on Terry London as he was swimming laps. I wish I were joking, but these are the facts. Outdoor pools do not last forever, and ours is failing.
Thank you. Betsy, the next question is for you. It's a little long. Some residents are questioning the cost to build the pool. Why is the cost as high as it is? And why is the city seeking $19.5 million in bonds if the estimated cost to replace the pool is $23 million?
Okay. To quote my friend John Sakel, The bond measure is about financing. It's not about cost. You can't bid a project until you have detailed construction drawings, and the city does not have the financial resources to spend $500,000 on detailed construction drawings only to find out that voters don't want to pay for a new facility. Measure UU is based on cost estimates prepared by the pool experts and the lead architects who worked with the community on the 2016 master plan. And Measure UU reflects the reality that the longer we wait to get started on replacing the pool, the more expensive it's going to be. Measure UU is simply authorizing bonds. We do not have to issue or spend all the bonds that are authorized. If Measure UU is approved, there will be an opportunity for residents to provide input on the design, as well as opportunities to donate to this project and potentially reduce the amount of bonds that need to be issued.
Thank you. Andy, same question?
Thank you. Well, first, I would question, if we have the opportunity to donate, why hasn't the city council started a project first to ask people to donate to the pool? We had a significant donation for Coaches Field. We have a lot of wealthy people in Piedmont. That would actually be a great idea as Plan A, as opposed to just going out and issuing $20 million of bonds. We don't know if $20 million of bonds is going to pay for it. The problem is in Piedmont, we tend to ask for the maximum amount of money that might be out there, that we might need for a project. And then we also don't have a particularly good history in terms of finishing those projects on time. Witness what happened to the undergrounding project, witness what happened to the school district when they asked for $65 million and gave us a list of about 8 projects and managed to finish 2. So I think $20 million is way too much.
Okay, thank you. Andy, this next question is for you. This particular questioner is stating that they've seen arguments against the pool bond measure that reference pension liabilities and the city's outstanding debt obligations.
Mm-hmm.
Could you please clarify what outstanding debts the city currently has, what the impact of this pool bond measure would be to the city's annual budget, and what impact would there be to the city's bond rating and future borrowing power debt ceiling if this bond measure is approved, and how future pension obligations factor into that consideration?
What a great question, and thank you so much to whomever asked it. I appreciate that. So if you look at the audited financial statements for June 30th, 2019, which are the most recent audited financial statements we have $7 million, I'm referring to my notes, $7 million in sewer loans, $13 million in post-employment benefits to current and past employees, and expected pension benefits of $26 million. Now, here's one thing that people don't talk about. The $26 million assumes we can get 7.2% on our investments. That's crazy these days, especially with bonds yielding 0. If we only get 6.2% instead of 7.2%, our pension benefit, our pension liability increases by $15 million. And so given that we have $46 million of liabilities on the books, issuing $20 million of pool bonds increases our liabilities by more than 40%, and will reduce our bond rating when we have to go and ask for $50 million for the essential services building.
Great, thank you very much. Betsy, you can have a little bit of extra time.
Thank you.
My apologies.
So Mr. Wasserman really likes to focus on our pension liabilities, but the reality is that long-term pension liabilities have nothing to do with rebuilding the pool. Over the past decade, the City Council and city staff have done an excellent job of managing our city finances and implementing the recommendations of the Budget Advisory and Financial Planning Committee. In fact, while I've been on council, in addition to participating in CalPERS, the city has paid off a PARS obligation and set aside over $3 million in a pension rate stabilization fund. The simple fact is neither the pension liabilities nor the sewer fund, which is actually financed by a tax voters approved 20 years ago. Neither of those have anything to do with Measure UU. It's really important for voters to understand that Measure UU will be paid for through property taxes. It will not impact the city's general fund. Apart from our aging infrastructure, which both Measures UU and TT address, the city is on very solid financial footing. In fact, when compared to other California cities, Piedmont is ranked as having the lowest amount of debt in the state of California, because as a city, we have no general obligation debt. Our ability to issue debt at the AA+ rating will remain strong well into the future.
Thank you very much. It's kind of hard to believe it went very fast, but we don't have time for any more questions, and it's time for the 2-minute closing statements. Betsy, you get to go first.
Great.
You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. We have covered a lot of ground tonight, but if anyone still has unanswered questions, there are 5 years of pool-related documents on the city website, including a recent Measure UU FAQ, as well as more information on the Campaign UU website, www.communitypoolforpiedmont. In addition, Bob McBain, myself, and Sarah Pearson will be doing a live Q&A, virtually, of course, next Tuesday night, October 20th at 7 p.m. You can register and submit questions at Community Pool for Piedmont website. I want to end on a personal note and with hope and appreciation. You might know that I grew up in Piedmont. I've been a lifelong resident. I am the product of Piedmont's excellent public schools. I also grew up swimming, making lifelong friends, and teaching lessons at the Piedmont Pool. I support Measure UU because I want current and future generations of Piedmonters to have the same opportunities I had. When I talk about the future of the Piedmont Pool, I actually believe the most important word is community, the Piedmont Community Pool. Measure UU is not just about a pool. It's about investing in the heart of our community, in the one recreation facility where residents of all ages can meet one another, socialize, and play together. If Measure UU fails, instead of gathering in the center of town, families and residents will have to scatter across the East Bay in search of affordable pool time. Instead of coming together, we'll be forced further apart. So instead of looking for reasons to say no, let's all say yes to building community, to joining together to build a pool facility that we can all be proud of for the next 50 years. I hope you join me, all the members of the City Council, all the members of the Piedmont Board of Education, in voting yes to the future of Piedmont and in voting yes to Measure UU. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and to Mr. Wasserman for participating, and many thanks to everyone watching at home.
Thank you very much. Andy, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, and I would like to echo my thanks to Ms. Anderson for her work on the City Council. I know it can be thankless. I know you've put a lot into Piedmont, and I appreciate that. To close, I would like to address many of the arguments that have been put forth by the proponents of Measure UU. And I would also like to say that many of these arguments, in my opinion, and the opinion of others, are emotional, and they're not financial, they're not based on priorities, they're not based on what I would consider to be priority-based decision-making process. So what have we heard? We have to do this now. Interest rates will never be lower. Well, we know the Federal Reserve has said that the interest rates are going to be the same as they are for a number of years to come. Proponents have said our home values will decline if we don't have a pool. We did not have a community pool for decades. It was private. Home values did not suffer one bit. However, if our fire station suffers significant damage in an earthquake, as our fire chief has suggested that it might, then because the City Council has decided that a pool was a more important priority than essential services, then home values are certainly going to suffer. Okay. The city has no general obligation bonds outstanding, and that blah, 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 all of the pension liabilities and all of the other liabilities have nothing to do with it. We need to take a holistic view at Piedmont's resources and its financial situation. Just because we don't have any general obligation bonds outstanding does not mean that we have no debts. And finally, if we wait, Piedmont will end up with an empty padlocked pool in the center of town permanently. This is a false statement. There's nothing that will stop the city council from resubmitting this ballot at any time. And when the time is right, which includes the pandemic ending, the city's financial condition being appropriate, and the deficiencies in our essential services addressed, then it's time to address the pool.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I want to thank Betsy Anderson and Andy Wasserman for participating in this event. I also want to thank our president, Laurel Plimier, and our timekeeper, and again, and Leora Ragones, who was our question sorter for the live online chat. I just want to mention that remember that the election day is on November 3rd on a Tuesday. The U.S. Post Office is recommending, if you are mailing your ballot in, to do it about a week before, by October 27th, to make sure it gets there on time. The Alameda County voter registrar will be starting to count those ballots earlier than that. And there's a ton of information about voting, the drop box, and all you need to know on the League of Women Voters website. And I also want to encourage people who want more information about these measures or anything else to go to votersedge.com, and unless it's votersedge.org, but one of those Voters Edge websites, and you will get additional information on any of the ballot measures that are on the ballot and candidates. And so thank you all so much, and we look forward